Hey everybody, welcome to Ongaku Concept. This week I was going to have an analysis of Green Hill Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog, considering it's June and Sonic's turning 25 years old this month, and so I wanted to do that. But things didn't quite go as planned with that, and so long story short, it's like 2:30 a.m. on Saturday, and I just want to get a video out at some point today. So I don't have time to put together that analysis to the level of quality that I want. And so I want to talk about, and hopefully I can talk about this without needing to edit it too much. I want to talk about something that I started thinking about, and part of the reason why that analysis didn't get finished this week. And I think, okay, here. One of the questions that shows up most frequently when I get emails or messages on Facebook or whatever is someone will like show me a song and point out some certain part of it. Maybe it's something that's like out of key, or maybe it's something that's not out of key, or just something in a song, and then they'll ask me, why does this work? And I don't know how to answer that question, because it's not about... That's a weird question to answer. Like, it's not about harmonies fitting together. It's not about consonance. It's not about dissonance. Because there's lots of, people ask me that about stuff that's crazy dissonant and weird things going on everywhere. People ask me that stuff about, like, 1-4-5 progressions. It's not about consonance or dissonance. It's not about... It's like... It's difficult to talk about how music works on a scientific level. And I may struggle with this more than some people because I don't have any formal music education. I am entirely self-taught, and I'm very proud of that, and I want to make it a point to never go to a proper music school because I want to learn everything for myself. I've learned so much on my own, and I want to continue learning on my own. And I'm really proud of that, but I do feel like there are certain things that I may understand better had I gone to like formal music classes or whatever. What was my point? Basically, like, I think here the best way I can do this is with an example. Take the third day for Clocktown from Majora's Mask, and that has a lot of crazy like dissonant clashing harmonies going on in the background. And so, like, why does that work? Well, I mean, on a harmony level, on a harmonic level, it doesn't. Everything is clashing and going all over the place. It doesn't work. But you accept that when you listen to it, because in context with what's going on and what the song means, it makes sense. And I think that's really what's most important when working with... Music theory isn't a list of rules. Music theory is just a way of describing what we're already doing and coming up with explanations for things and why certain things resolve to other things and why certain things clash and other things don't. It's merely serving as a way of explaining. It has no... There's no sense of, like, rules established with that. And when composing, I think one of the biggest fears people have when learning music theory is, or when thinking about learning music theory, is that it'll stifle their creativity because they'll be bound to these rules. But music theory isn't about that. I mean, it's called music theory for a reason, not music law. because anything that goes against maybe like traditional harmony, things that clash in really weird ways, or strange resolutions, or avoiding resolutions, or whatever. Everything about making music is about communicating something to the listener, whether that's a certain emotion, or like you're trying to describe an atmosphere of some kind. You are trying to get something across to the listener. And there are many like tropes that we associate with certain things. So, for example, Lydian chord progressions are typically used for things set in space, or like really ethereal types of things. And, I'm not sure why that is, but that's just kind of become a thing that we associate with that. And so that's a trope that we use when writing for those sorts of themes. Music is all about communication. And so, in that sense, I mean, you can get away with anything you want as long as it's communicating what you intend to communicate. And I think that's the most important thing here. So when you ask, why does X work? It works because you accept that it does. So I talked a while ago, like a few weeks ago, about out of key notes. And I said, like, one of my points was, if you're going to use out of key notes, make sure that they make sense. So, like, if you're going to use out of key notes, try and support them with some consonant harmonies. But if you want to use them with dissonant harmonies, make sure that dissonance makes sense for the song that you're working with. So if you got this happy song going on, and all of a sudden you start throwing in all these mishmash of weird dissonant chords, it has to make sense somehow, right? Unless what you want is that jarring kind of, response from your listener. It all comes down to what you're trying to communicate to your listener, and whether or not that comes across properly. And so maybe you might rephrase that question from how does this work to how can I communicate this to my listener? And I think that's just a matter of studying tropes and things that show up repeatedly in different kinds of songs with the kind of feel that you're looking to communicate. So, for example, if I want to communicate something kind of ethereal, aside from the Lydian mode, I may write something and take particular care to avoid resolving, and like have the melody go on the second or seventh degrees of the scale really often, to kind of hover around the tonic but not quite pinpoint it, just because that's one of those tropes that's associated with that kind of feeling. What am I talking about at this point? Music is all about communication, and so if you can't find a theoretical explanation for something, that doesn't mean it's wrong. You just have to make sure it's communicating what you want. And the same goes for if you can find a music theory explanation for something. Just because something makes sense with music theory doesn't mean it's communicating the thing that you want to communicate. So how does this relate back to what I was talking about with Sonic? I think when I was thinking through the analysis, I kind of got hung up trying to explain away every little detail of it. So the fact that it starts out with that little climbing trill, I was thinking, well, it's like that climbing pattern kind of builds anticipation, and kind of gets the ball rolling, or the hedgehog rolling. And then, okay, so what about the next part? We have like this big riff with just over a C major 7 chord. What does that mean? I don't know what it means. It's a 1 chord. It's nice. It's relaxing. I mean, I could go through a million different ways of describing it. I mean, does it need an explanation? It's. I was thinking about this when I'm working on a remix of Corneria from Star Fox Zero for my other YouTube channel where I do covers and stuff. And I was kind of thinking about this with that song too. I was like, okay, so this song kind of combines the Phrygian and Dorian modes. That's really, really cool. And like, and I was thinking about how I might describe that. And I don't know. Maybe this is just a cop out answer on my part, but I feel like if I had a way to describe everything about music with words, I wouldn't try to describe it with music. Does that make sense? Like, if I could describe something with words, why would I waste time doing it with music? I mean, Walter Piston's harmony. He talked about chord function a little bit, but before long, he quickly was like, you know, he mentioned the dominant to tonic relationship in cadences, and he's like, well, I mean, if you describe it, the dominant chord has all this tension, and you resolve it to the one, and it has this feeling of rest or whatever. But he's like, but describing it doesn't really give a great picture. It's something you just have to listen to. And he proceeded to show some examples. And I think that's the thing when teaching people how to listen to music is you can only go so far explaining how, like, what something sounds like. Because when it comes down to it, you just have to listen to it. And I don't know. I don't know how to explain music. And that bothers me more than I think it should. Cause I feel like as a I'm getting emotional because I'm on camera. I feel like as a music theorist, it's like my job to know how to describe everything that. Geez, I feel like it's my job to be able to describe what is being communicated with music through theory. And because, I mean, a lot of that can be like, you have your, how much time do I have left on this thing? 5 minutes. 5 minutes, okay. I mean, a lot of that can be described. Minor chords sound sad, major chords sound happy in general. Your subdominant chords are chords of motion. Your dominant seventh, brings tension. I mean, you can go into all that with words, but there's a lot of finer details there. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. And so when I can't find the words to describe something like that, I feel like I'm not doing my job right, or there's got to be something that I'm missing. Some piece of knowledge that I don't understand. And really, given the fact that I didn't start studying music theory seriously until about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, is when I really started studying music theory seriously. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff I don't know. And so maybe I'll figure that out eventually. But I don't know. I think my point is that I'm saying that, like, I'm trying to analyze stuff and I kind of get to a point where I'm overanalyzing. Because I feel like if I don't, and I don't provide some kind of a philosophical explanation for every note and chord in use, then there must be something that I don't understand. And that's probably not a healthy way of thinking about it. So when writing music, try not to think about rules or anything so much. I mean, music theory is there to help you. get from place to place and help you understand what you're doing. It has nothing to do with like telling you what to do. Make sure what you're communicating gets across, and show your music to a variety of people, and ask them, what does this communicate to you? Maybe don't even give them a title or anything. Just show it to them and ask them, what do you think when you hear this? And you'll come up with varying results, and you can modify your work accordingly. And over time, I think you learn how to write for certain themes. Yeah. So I'm trying to stop overanalyzing stuff, and I'm trying to learn how to be looser with my explanations, and I'm also trying to learn to like expand my vocabulary my musical vocabulary, just so I can articulate myself better. How much time do I have? 2 minutes. Jesus, it's gonna be a long video. I don't want to edit this thing. I do not want to edit this thing. I don't think I will. So yeah, I just talked about random stuff for like 20 minutes, and maybe you got something out of that, and maybe you didn't, and maybe it was just entertaining to listen to, or maybe, I don't know, whatever. I intend to have that sonic analysis up next week, so hopefully everything works out with that. Thanks for listening, and if you have any comments about this idea of like how music communicates something to people, feel free to share that and your experiences with music theory and how all of that relates. Thanks again for watching. If you want actual analyses and cool stuff like that, check out my other videos on this channel. There'll be links, if you're on YouTube, anyway. I'll see you guys later.